My name is Desmond Thomas Doss, Corporal, Medical Detachment, 307th Infantry Regiment, 77th Infantry Division, United States Army. I was 26 years old when I climbed that cliff on Okinawa. I'm about to tell you how a Seventh-day Adventist conscientious objector who refused to touch a rifle became the first of my kind to receive the Medal of Honor. How I saved 75 wounded men on top of a 400-foot escarpment while Japanese soldiers tried to kill me with everything they had. How I lowered each man down that cliff, one by one, praying the same prayer over and over. Dear God, let me get just one more. They called me a coward. They called me yellow. My own company tried to get me kicked out of the army. But when the bullets started flying and men started dying, I was the one running toward the enemy fire, not away from it. I never fired a shot, never even carried a weapon. But I fought in that war as hard as any man who did. What makes a man run into hell unarmed? What gives you the strength to keep going when every part of your body is screaming to stop? I was born in Lynchburg, Virginia, on February 7th, 1919. My daddy, William Doss, was a carpenter when he could find work, which wasn't often during the Depression. My mother, Bertha, she held us together. Me, my older sister Audrey, and my younger brother Harold. We were poor. Dirt poor. But we were rich in faith. Mama raised us strict Adventist. That meant Saturday was the Sabbath. No work, no play, just worship. It meant we didn't eat meat, didn't drink, didn't smoke, and it meant we believed in the 10 Commandments with everything we had. Especially the 6th one, Thou shalt not kill. We had a picture on our living room wall, a framed print showing Cain killing Abel. I must have stared at that picture 1,000 times as a boy. Cain standing over his brother's body, the rock still in his hand, that look of horror on his face when he realized what he'd done. Underneath were the words, And the Lord said unto Cain, Where is Abel thy brother? That image burned itself into my mind. Brother killing brother. The first murder. The original sin of violence. Mama would point to it and say, Desmond, you see what happens when men forget God's commandments? You see what hate and anger lead to? I saw. I understood. When I was young, maybe 10 or 11 years old, I nearly became Cain myself. My brother Harold and I got into a fight. Can't even remember what it was about. Boys' stuff, probably, nothing important. But it got heated, and I grabbed a brick. I was so angry, so full of rage. I raised that brick over Harold's head. For just a second, I wanted to bring it down, wanted to hurt him. Then I saw Mama's face, saw the fear in her eyes, and I saw that picture, Cain and Abel. And I dropped the brick and ran to my room and cried for hours. I'd almost killed my own brother, almost became a murderer over nothing. That day changed me. I made a promise to God right then I would never take a human life. Never. No matter what. I grew up working. Had to. We needed every penny. Started at a lumber mill when I was 15, then moved to the shipyard in Newport News. I was good with my hands, could fix anything, build anything. Daddy taught me that much, at least, between his drinking binges. My daddy had his demons. He'd been in the Great War, saw things over there that haunted him. He'd drink to forget, then he'd get violent. I saw him pull a gun on Mama once, drunk and raging. I had to wrestle it away from him. Another time I nearly violated my own principles about
Saved Mama's life, but it reinforced everything I believed about guns and violence. They destroy, they corrupt, they turn good men into monsters. In 1942, I met Dorothy Shute. She worked at my church.
Prettiest girl I'd ever seen, with a smile that could light up a room. We courted proper, Adventist style. No drinking, no dancing, just long walks and talking about our dreams. She wanted to be a nurse. I wanted to marry her. We got engaged. I gave her a little ring, all I could afford, and she cried and said yes. We planned a simple wedding, nothing fancy, just us, our families, and God. Then came December 7th, 1941. I was working at the shipyard when the news came through. Pearl Harbor attacked. Thousands dead. America at war. Every man in that shipyard was talking about enlisting. The anger was white hot. We're gonna kill those Japanese. Make 'em pay. Bomb 'em back to the Stone Age. Violence answering violence. I understood their rage. I felt it too. What happened at Pearl Harbor was evil. Pure evil. Those men were murdered. Sailors sleeping in their bunks, burned alive in their ships. It was wrong. It was an atrocity. But I'd made a promise to God. Thou shalt not kill. So what could I do? Hide? Claim exemption as a religious conscientious objector? Stay safe at home while other men fought and died? No. That wasn't right either. My country needed help. Men were dying. They needed medics, needed someone to patch them up, get them home to their families. I could do that. I could serve without killing. I could save lives instead of taking them. In April of 1942, I enlisted. Voluntarily. I walked into that recruiting station and told them I wanted to serve as a combat medic. Non-combatant status. I'd go wherever they sent me, do whatever they needed, but I wouldn't carry a weapon. The recruiter looked at me like I'd grown a second head. Son, you're gonna get yourself killed. Maybe, I said. But I'm going to serve my country. I just won't kill for it. They accepted me, sent me to Fort Jackson, South Carolina for basic training. That's when the real war started. The war with my own army. Basic training at Fort Jackson was hell, but not because of the physical training. I could handle the marching, the push-ups, the obstacle courses. I was in good shape from years of manual labor. The drills didn't break me. It was my own squad that tried to. From day one, they hated me. The drill instructors, the other recruits, everyone. Here I was, volunteering for the army but refusing to touch a rifle. To them, that made me a coward, a weakling, yellow. Doss, you're a disgrace to the uniform, Sergeant Howell would scream in my face. What kind of man goes to war without a weapon? The kind who's going to save your life when you get shot, Sergeant, I'd answer quietly. That just made him angrier. During rifle training, while everyone else practiced on the range, I'd stand there, empty-handed. The other men would mock me, call me names. Coward! Conscientious objector! They'd spit the words like curses. I took it. What else could I do? Fight back? That would violate everything I believed in. I'd turn the other cheek, just like Jesus taught. But it got worse. Much worse. They tried to break me psychologically, give me the worst details, latrine duty, KP, scrubbing floors with a toothbrush. Fine. I did it all without complaint. They'd wake me up in the middle of the night for extra duty. I'd get up and do it. Then came the physical intimidation, accidents during training, a rifle butt to the ribs during close quarters drill,
getting accidentally knocked down during pugil stick training, boots on my fingers during crawling exercises. One night, a group of them surrounded my bunk, 6 or 7 guys, all bigger than me. The lights were out. I could barely see their faces. "We've had enough of you, Doss," one of them said. I recognized the voice. Private Carger from Alabama. "You're making us all look bad, making the whole company look like cowards." "I'm not trying to make anyone look like anything," I said, sitting up.
"I'm just trying to serve my country my own way." "Your way is the wrong way," another voice said. "Real men carry rifles. Real men kill the enemy." They grabbed me, dragged me out of the barracks. I didn't resist, didn't fight back. They took me out behind the building and beat me. Fists to my face, my ribs, my stomach. I curled up, protected my head, took it. "Fight back, you coward!" Carger was screaming. "Fight back!" I wouldn't. I just prayed. "Dear God, give me strength. Help me forgive them. They don't understand." Eventually they stopped, left me lying in the dirt, bleeding and bruised. I limped back to my bunk, cleaned myself up, said nothing to anyone. Reported for duty the next morning like nothing happened. The sergeants knew. They had to know. But nobody did anything. Maybe they approved. Maybe they thought it would make me quit. But I wasn't going to quit. I'd made a commitment to serve. I'd made a promise to God. Nothing they did would break that. My captain, Captain Vernon, called me into his office one day. He was a decent man, I could tell. He looked troubled. "Doss, I'm going to be straight with you. I don't understand your position, but I respect that you volunteered when you could have claimed exemption. However, I've got a whole company of men who think you're a liability. They don't trust you. They don't want to serve with you." "Sir, I understand their concern," I said. "But when the shooting starts, they'll see. I'll be there. I'll help them. They can count on me." "That's what worries me," Vernon said. "You're asking them to go into combat with a man who won't return fire, won't defend himself. In their minds, that makes you a danger to the whole unit." He paused, shuffled some papers on his desk. "I could discharge you right now. Medical reasons, psychological unsuitability. You'd go home, marry your girl, live your life. Nobody would blame you." I thought about Dorothy, sweet Dorothy, writing me letters every day, telling me how proud she was of me, how she prayed for my safety. I missed her terribly. The thought of going home to her, holding her, starting our life together. But I'd made a commitment. "Sir, I appreciate the offer, but no thank you. I enlisted to serve. I'm going to see it through." Vernon sighed. "You're either the bravest man I've ever met, or the most stubborn. Maybe both. All right, Doss. You can stay. But I'm warning you, it's not going to get easier." He was right about that. The harassment continued through advanced training, but something started to change. Slowly, gradually, some of the men began to see me differently. During field exercises, I'd volunteer for the hardest jobs, carry extra equipment, help guys who were struggling. I'd give up my weekend passes to help others finish their assignments. I never complained, never retaliated, never gave less than my absolute best. And I studied. Studied field medicine like my life depended on it, because someone else's life would. I learned how to stop bleeding, treat shock, splint fractures, handle sucking chest wounds. I memorized dosages, practiced tourniquets, learned to work fast under pressure. I might not carry a rifle, but I'd be the best combat medic in the army. One day, during a long march, Private Mills collapsed from heat exhaustion. He was one of the guys who'd beaten me that night. The squad kept marching. Nobody wanted to help him. He'd been cruel to everyone, not just me. I stopped, dropped my pack, got him in the shade, gave him my water, treated him for heat stroke. Stayed with him until the medic truck came around. When we got back to camp, Mills came to find me. His face was red, embarrassed. "Doss, after what I did to you, why'd you help me?" "Because you needed help," I said simply. "That's what medics do." He looked at the ground. "I'm sorry. For that night. For all of it. You're a better man than me." "No," I said. "I'm just trying to live by what I believe. Same as you." Word got around. Slowly the harassment decreased. Not from everyone. Some still hated me, thought I was a coward, wanted me gone. But others started to see me as something different. Strange, maybe. Crazy, probably. But sincere. Committed. Someone who'd actually stand by his principles, even when it cost him everything. We shipped out to the Pacific in May of 1944. Across the ocean on a crowded transport ship, packed in like sardines. Guys playing cards, writing letters, trying not to think about what was coming. I spent my time reading my Bible and studying my medical manual. Dorothy had given me a small Bible before I left, pocket-sized, with my name embossed on the cover. I carried it everywhere. It became my weapon. We arrived at Guam first. Saw some action there, my first taste of real combat. The sound of gunfire, mortar rounds, men screaming. I ran through it all, found wounded men, patched them up, dragged them to safety. I was terrified, absolutely terrified. Every instinct screamed at me to hide, to take cover, to save myself. But when I heard someone yell, "Medic!" I'd run toward the sound, toward the danger. Saved my first life on Guam. Private Henderson took shrapnel in the leg, femoral artery nicked. He was bleeding out, screaming. I got to him, tied off the artery, gave him morphine, got him stabilized. He lived. When he came back from the hospital, he found me. "Doss, the doc said 5 more minutes and I'd have bled out. You saved my life." "Just doing my job," I said. "No," Henderson said seriously. "You ran through machine gun fire to get to me. Unarmed. That's not just doing your job. I don't know what that is. But thank you." That happened again on Leyte. And again. Each time we saw combat, I'd be out there, running through the hell, finding wounded men, bringing them back. No rifle, no grenades. Just my medic bag and my faith. The company's attitude toward me changed. Not completely, some still didn't trust me, but most came to accept that I was for real. That when they got hit, I'd come for them, no matter what. Then came April of 1945. We got new orders. Operation Iceberg. The invasion of Okinawa. Command briefed us on what to expect. Okinawa was the last stop before Japan itself. The enemy would fight to the death. Every man, woman, and child on that island had been told to resist. No surrender, no retreat. We'd be facing fanatics, suicide attacks, banzai charges. The Japanese would throw everything they had at us. "This is going to be the bloodiest battle of the war," our lieutenant told us grimly. "Most of us won't make it home, but we have to take this island. It's the key to ending the war." I thought about Dorothy. We'd gotten married on a short leave just a few months before. A quick ceremony, one brief night together, then back to duty. She'd cried when I left. Made me promise to come home to her. I'd promised. But sitting there, Listening to that briefing, I wasn't sure it was a promise I could keep. We landed on Okinawa on April 1st, 1945, Easter Sunday. The irony wasn't lost on me. The day celebrating Christ's resurrection, and we were walking into death. The landing was easier than expected. We hit the beaches and barely took any fire. The Japanese had pulled back, let us come ashore, let us think it would be easy. It was a trap, of course. They were waiting inland, dug into positions we couldn't see, ready to bleed us dry. For the first few days, we moved through the island encountering scattered resistance, small firefights, sniper fire, the occasional mortar barrage. I treated wounded men, did my job, kept my head down. The island was beautiful in a strange way. Lush, green, terraced fields and small villages. Hard to believe this peaceful place would become hell on earth. Then we hit the Maeda Escarpment. The men started calling it Hacksaw Ridge. I'll never forget the first time I saw it. We'd been advancing through relatively flat terrain when suddenly the land just dropped away. A sheer cliff face, 400 feet tall, running for miles. Jagged, rocky, like some giant had taken a saw and cut the island in half. At the top of that cliff was a plateau, and on that plateau, the Japanese had built a fortress. Bunkers, tunnels, machine gun nests, artillery positions. Hundreds of soldiers dug in, waiting for us. The only way up was by cargo nets. We'd have to climb 400 feet of exposed cliff face while the enemy shot down at us, then fight our way onto the plateau and hold it. It was suicide. Everyone knew it. Lieutenant Garanto gathered the company. His face was grim. "Men, we've been ordered to take that ridge. 3rd Battalion tried yesterday. Got cut to pieces. September Battalion tried this morning. Same result. Now it's our turn." Someone muttered, "We're all gonna die up there." "Maybe," Garanto said. "But we've got our orders. We climb at 0600 tomorrow. Get some rest. Write your letters home. And pray." That night I sat with my Bible, reading by candlelight. Other men were doing the same, writing final letters to wives, girlfriends, mothers. The mood in camp was somber. Everyone knew what the next day would bring. Private Gent sat down next to me. He was young, maybe 19, from Georgia. Good kid. Scared out of his mind. "Doss, you really think we're going to make it up that cliff?" I looked at him. Wanted to lie, to give him false hope. But I couldn't. "I don't know, Gent. But I'll tell you this. If you get hit, I'll come for you. I promise you that." He nodded, trying to look brave. "I believe you. You're crazy enough to try." I smiled. "Crazy for Jesus," my mother used to say. "Your faith really that strong? You really believe God's going to protect you up there?" "I believe God has a plan," I said. "And I believe my job is to save lives, not take them. If I die doing that, then I die doing what I'm meant to do." Gent was quiet for a moment. "I wish I had that kind of certainty." "You don't need certainty," I told him. "You just need to do your duty. One step at a time, one moment at a time. That's all any of us can do." At 0530 the next morning, May 1st, 1945, we assembled at the base of the cliff. The cargo nets were already in place, hanging down the rock face like rope ladders. Above us, we could hear the Japanese, voices calling out, equipment moving, the sounds of an army waiting to kill us. Captain Vernon moved through the ranks, checking on his men. When he got to me, he stopped. "Doss, I want you to hang back. Let the first wave get up, establish a position, then you follow. No sense losing our medic in the initial assault." "Sir, with respect, The first wave is going to take the most casualties. That's where I need to be. Vernon studied me for a long moment. You're determined to get yourself killed, aren't you? No, sir. I'm determined to save as many men as I can. He shook his head. You're the damnedest soldier I've ever met. All right, Doss. God help you. He will, sir. He always has. At 0600, the order came. Move out! The first men started climbing. Hand over hand, feet finding purchase on the rock, pulling themselves up those cargo nets. I went with the second group, my medic bag strapped to my back, my Bible in my pocket. The climb was exhausting. 400 feet of vertical rock face, wearing full gear, carrying equipment. My arms burned, my legs shook. I focused on one hand, one foot, one movement at a time. Don't look down. Don't look up. Just climb. Halfway up, the shooting started. The Japanese had waited until we were committed, hanging on those nets like fish in a barrel. Machine gun fire raked the cliff face. I heard men scream, saw them fall, tumbling down past me, hitting the rocks below. Keep climbing! Someone shouted. Don't stop! Keep climbing! A bullet pinged off the rock near my hand. Stone chips cut my face. I kept climbing. Above me, Private Johnson took a round in the shoulder. He cried out, nearly lost his grip. I climbed faster, got underneath him, supported his weight with my shoulder. I got you, Johnson. Keep moving. I'm hit. I can't. Yes, you can. Move your feet. Left hand up. Now right. Move, soldier. I pushed him, supported him, helped him climb with one arm useless. We made it to the top together, rolled over the edge onto the plateau. The plateau was chaos. A nightmare. The Japanese had prepared this ground perfectly. Every inch covered by interlocking fields of fire. Our men were pinned down behind whatever cover they could find. Rocks, blown down trees, shell craters. The air was thick with bullets, mortar rounds exploding, the screams of wounded men. I got Johnson behind cover, checked his wound. Through and through in the shoulder, missed the bone. He'd live if I could stop the bleeding. This is gonna hurt, I told him. I poured sulfur powder in the wound, bandaged it tight. He bit down on his rifle strap, didn't scream. Good man. Medic! Medic over here! I looked. 30 yards away, Private Martinez was down, hit in the leg. Enemy fire was concentrated on that area. Anyone who moved got shot at. I took a breath, said a quick prayer. Dear God, protect me while I save your children. Then I ran. Bullets snapped past my head. Mortar rounds exploded near me. I ran in a crouch, zigzagging, using every scrap of cover. Got to Martinez, slid down next to him. His leg was a mess. Shrapnel from a mortar, multiple wounds, bleeding badly. I worked fast, tied off the worst bleeder, bandaged what I could. Can you move? I don't think so, Doc. Hurts too bad. I'll carry you. I got him in a fireman's carry, stood up. He must have weighed 170 pounds plus gear. I'm not a big man, 5'9", 140 pounds soaking wet. But adrenaline and faith gave me strength. I carried him back to cover. Bullets followed us the whole way. I felt one tug at my uniform, right between my arm and my side. Inches from death. But we made it. Laid Martinez down with the other wounded. He grabbed my hand. You're insane, Doss. You know that? So I've been told. Thank you. Medic! We need a medic! All day long, that's what I heard. Medic! Medic! The call that meant someone was hurt, dying, needed help. And every time I heard it, I ran. We tried to advance across that plateau, take the Japanese positions, but they had us cold. Machine gun bunkers reinforced with logs and coral rock, invisible until you were right on top of them. Spider holes where soldiers would pop up, shoot, disappear underground. Interconnected tunnels so they could retreat from one position and appear in another. And they fought like demons. No surrender, no retreat. They'd wait until you were close, then detonate satchel charges, blow themselves up and take Americans with them. Wounded Japanese soldiers would pretend to be dead, then throw grenades when our men walked past. It was hell. Pure hell. Captain Vernon tried to organize an assault on a machine gun nest that was pinning down an entire platoon. He led from the front, pistol in hand, charging across open ground. I watched him go down, hit multiple times. He crawled behind a rock, but he was bleeding bad. "Doss!" Lieutenant Garanto grabbed my arm. "Don't. He's too far out. You'll get killed." "He's still alive, sir. I can save him." "It's suicide." I pulled free. "Then I guess I'm committing suicide." I ran. That machine gun tracked me the whole way, bullets chewing up the ground around my feet. I hit the dirt, crawled the last 20 yards on my belly, got to Vernon. He was in bad shape. 3 rounds in the chest, 1 in the abdomen. Bleeding internally, going into shock. I worked frantically, pressure bandages, morphine, plasma if I could get an IV started. "Doss," he whispered. "Leave me. Save yourself." "Can't do that, sir. You're my commanding officer. I'm obligated to disobey that order." He tried to smile, blood on his teeth. "That's insubordination." "Court-martial me later, sir. Right now, hold still." I got him stabilized, but I couldn't carry him, not from here. The Japanese would kill us both. I needed help. I looked around, spotted a shell crater about 15 yards away with 3 of our guys in it. I waved, pointed at Vernon, made gestures. They understood. One of them, Sergeant Howell, the same sergeant who'd called me a coward in basic training, nodded. Howell and another man, Private Penn, made a dash to our position. The machine gun opened up again, but they made it. Howell slid in next to me, breathing hard. "You're completely insane, Doss." "Yes, Sergeant. Can you help me get him back?" Between the 3 of us, we dragged Vernon back to the aid station. He lived, made it home to his wife and kids. But his war was over. Mine was just beginning. We fought all day. The sun beat down. Temperature must have been 90 degrees. No water, no food, just fighting and dying and trying to hold our tiny piece of that plateau. I lost count of how many men I treated. 20? 30? More? I'd find them, patch them up, drag them to cover. Some could walk, some I carried. Some I crawled to, patched them up where they lay, and prayed they'd survive until we could evacuate them. My medic bag ran low on supplies. I scavenged from the dead, both American and Japanese. Bandages, morphine, sulfa powder, whatever I could find. A medic is only as good as his supplies. Late afternoon, we got orders to withdraw, pull back to the cliff edge, evacuate the wounded, regroup. We'd failed to take the ridge. Lost over 50 men killed or wounded. Gained maybe 100 yards of ground. The evacuation was a nightmare. Getting wounded men down those cargo nets, 400 feet of cliff while the Japanese shot at us. Some men couldn't climb, had to be lowered on stretchers. Others, too badly wounded to move at all, had to be left behind temporarily. We marked their positions, promised to come back for them. I was one of the last ones down, made sure every wounded man I could reach was evacuated first. Lieutenant Garanto, He'd taken command after Vernon went down, physically dragged me to the nets. "Doss, we're pulling out, now!" "Sir, there might be more wounded." "There's always more wounded." "You've done enough. Now move, soldier." I climbed down as the sun was setting. My arms were shaking, barely had the strength left. At the bottom, I collapsed. Just lay there on the ground, every muscle screaming. Someone handed me a canteen. I drank, realized I hadn't had water in over 12 hours. Hadn't eaten. Hadn't stopped moving since we climbed that cliff at dawn. Ghent sat down next to me. His uniform was torn, blood on his face from a shrapnel cut. But he was alive. "You saved my life today, Doss. I got hit, thought I was done. Then you came out of nowhere, patched me up, dragged me to cover. That's my job, Ghent." "It's more than a job," he said quietly. "What you did today, I've never seen anything like it. You must have saved 20 men, maybe more. Running through fire, unarmed, again and again. Guys are saying you're either the bravest man in the army or protected by God himself." "Maybe both," I said with a tired smile. That night, Command held a meeting. I wasn't invited, but word filtered down. The generals wanted that ridge, needed it. It was the key to the whole southern defense line. If we couldn't take Hacksaw, we couldn't advance. If we couldn't advance, the whole campaign stalled. We'd try again tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. However long it took, however many men it cost, we'd take that ridge, or die trying. I wrote a letter to Dorothy that night, told her I loved her, told her I was safe, which was a lie, told her I was doing the Lord's work, which was the truth. Didn't tell her about the bullets, the blood, the men dying in my arms. She didn't need to know that. I prayed for a long time, thanked God for protecting me through the day, asked him for strength for tomorrow, prayed for the wounded, the dying, the dead, prayed for Dorothy, prayed for my family, prayed even for the Japanese. They were God's children too, however misguided. Then I slept. Exhausted, dreamless sleep. We climbed that cliff again on May 2nd, and again on May 3rd, and 4th, and 5th. Each day the same hell. Climb the nets under fire, fight across the plateau, take casualties, evacuate the wounded, climb back down, repeat. Each day I ran through the fire, found wounded men, brought them back. Some days I saved 10 men, some days 20. Lost count. Didn't matter. Each life was precious. Each life was worth the risk. The company accepted me now, completely. No more questions about my convictions, my refusal to carry a weapon. They'd seen what I did, seen me run toward danger again and again, unarmed, to save them. They started calling me the preacher, said I preached with my actions instead of words. Some said I was charmed, that bullets couldn't hit me. Others said God protected me. I didn't know about that. Plenty of bullets came close. I just kept moving, kept trusting, kept doing my job. On May 4th, something happened that changed everything. We'd been fighting all morning. Brutal, close-quarters combat. The Japanese launched a counterattack, pushed us back toward the cliff edge. We were in danger of being overrun, pushed right off the plateau. Sergeant Howell was organizing a defensive line when a grenade landed near him. He saw it, tried to run, but there were wounded men in the blast radius. If he ran, they'd die. He threw himself on the grenade. I saw it happen, saw him cover it with his body. The explosion was muffled. His body absorbed most of it. He saved 4 men.
but he was torn apart. I ran to him, knew before I got there that he was beyond help. But I had to try, had to do something. He was still conscious, barely. Looked up at me with dying eyes. "Doss, I was wrong about you. You're no coward. Save your strength, Sergeant. You're going to be fine." He smiled, blood bubbling from his lips. "Don't lie to me, medic. I'm done. Sergeant, you remind them. Remind them I died."
Doing my duty. I will. I promise. He died in my arms. Sergeant Howell, who'd tormented me in basic training, who'd called me yellow, who'd beaten me behind the barracks. He died a hero. Gave his life for his men. I closed his eyes, said a prayer. Then I had to move. Other men needed help. No time to grieve. Grieve later. Save lives now. We held that day. Barely. Pushed the Japanese back, stabilized the line. But we paid for every inch in blood. That night, Lieutenant Garanto promoted me, made me acting sergeant. I tried to refuse. How could I be a sergeant when I wouldn't even carry a rifle? But he insisted. "Doss, these men follow you. They trust you. They'd run through fire if you asked them to. That's what leadership is. You've earned this." So mostly Sergeant Doss, still unarmed, still a conscientious objector, but now officially in charge of lives beyond just medical care. I took the responsibility seriously, checked on every man in my squad, made sure they had water, ammo, medical supplies, listened to their fears, their hopes, their memories of home, prayed with anyone who wanted it. On May 5th, the weather turned. Rain poured down, turning the plateau into mud. The fighting continued anyway. Wet, cold, miserable. Men slipping in the mud, weapons jamming, visibility near zero. But I could still hear them. "Medic! Medic!" Through the rain, through the explosions, through the chaos. I could always hear that call, and I always answered. May 5th, 1945. The day that would define my entire life. The day I learned what it truly means to trust God completely. We'd been fighting for 5 days straight. The company was exhausted, depleted. We'd started with over 200 men. Now we were down to maybe 120 effective fighters. The rest were dead, wounded, or so shell-shocked they couldn't function. But command wanted that ridge. One more push, they said. One more assault and we'd break through. We climbed at dawn. The rain had stopped, but the plateau was still mud and blood. The Japanese were waiting, like always, but this time something was different. We could feel it. They were preparing something big. We advanced across the plateau, taking ground yard by yard. My squad was on the right flank, near the cliff edge. We cleared 2 bunkers, pushed forward maybe 50 yards. For a moment, I thought maybe today would be different. Maybe today we'd actually take this cursed ridge. Then the counterattack came. It started with artillery, Japanese mortars and rockets saturating our position. The ground erupted around us, throwing mud and rock and bodies into the air. Men screamed, dove for cover, tried to find anywhere safe. There was nowhere safe. "Incoming! Take cover!" I hit the dirt behind a low coral outcropping. Explosions walked across the plateau. I felt the heat, the concussion, debris raining down. My ears rang. Couldn't hear anything but a high-pitched whine. Then the barrage lifted. And they came. Hundreds of them. Japanese soldiers screaming, "Banzai!" charging across the plateau with bayonets fixed. A human wave, determined to push us off the ridge or die trying. Our men opened fire. Machine guns, rifles, everything we had. The Japanese fell in rows, but they kept coming, stepping over their own dead, screaming, charging. The line broke. Our left flank collapsed, men falling back in panic. The Japanese poured through the gap, flanking our positions. Suddenly, we were surrounded, fighting in every direction. Lieutenant Garanto tried to organize a retreat. "Fall back! Fall back to the cliff edge! Evacuate!" But there were wounded everywhere. Men cut off, pinned down, unable to move. If we retreated now, we'd leave them to die. I saw Private Gent trapped in a shell crater, wounded, 3 Japanese soldiers advancing on him. I ran toward him, screaming, "Gent, hold on!" I don't know what I thought I'd do. I had no weapon, no way to fight, but I couldn't let him die. One of the Japanese soldiers turned, saw me running at him unarmed. He looked confused, raised his rifle, aimed at my chest. I waited for the shot. Waited to die. The shot came from behind me. The Japanese soldier dropped. Sergeant Penn had covered me, killed the enemy soldier just in time. I reached Gent, pulled him out of the crater. He'd been bayoneted in the side, bleeding badly. I got pressure on the wound, started bandaging. "Doss, we gotta go! They're everywhere!" "Not without the wounded!" All around us our men were retreating, climbing down the cargo nets, evacuating. The Japanese were overrunning the plateau. In minutes, they'd control everything. And there were wounded men everywhere. Dozens of them, trapped, bleeding, dying. Lieutenant Garanto grabbed my shoulder. "Doss, I'm ordering you to evacuate. Now!" "Sir, I can't leave them." "That's an order, Sergeant." I looked at him. Looked at the wounded men scattered across the plateau. Looked at the cargo nets. At safety just 400 feet below. "Sir, with respect, I can't obey that order. These men need me." Garanto stared at me for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "God help you, Doss. You're the bravest man I've ever known. Or the most foolish." He pressed his pistol into my hand. "At least take this." I handed it back. "Can't, sir. Against my beliefs." He shook his head in disbelief. Then he was gone, climbing down with the last of our men. And I was alone on Hacksaw Ridge, alone with the wounded and the Japanese army. The sounds of the battle changed. The American gunfire faded as our men retreated. The Japanese voices grew louder, closer. They were sweeping the plateau, killing our wounded, securing their victory. I had minutes, maybe less. I looked at the wounded around me. At least 75 men, maybe more, scattered across 200 yards of plateau. Some could walk. Some couldn't. Some were unconscious. Some were dying. Impossible. I couldn't save them all. Couldn't even save half of them. But I had to try. I knelt down, closed my eyes, prayed harder than I'd ever prayed in my life. "Dear God, I don't know how to do this. I don't have enough strength. I don't have enough time. But these are your children, Lord. These men have families waiting for them. Please, God, show me how. Give me strength. Help me save just one more. Please, Lord, just one more." I opened my eyes, saw Private Glennon 20 yards away, leg wound, conscious. I could get to him. I ran low, reached him. "Glennon, can you move?"
My leg's busted, Doc. Can't walk. Then I'll carry you. I got him up, fireman's carry, staggered toward the cliff edge. My legs shook. He must have weighed 180 pounds. My back screamed. Keep moving, just keep moving. Reached the cliff edge. The cargo nets were still there, but how could I get a wounded man down 400 feet of rope? Then I saw it. Rope. Lots of rope, left behind in the retreat.
I could make a sling. Lower men down. I tied a bowline around Glennon's chest, looped the rope around a solid coral outcropping, tied it off with a double half-hitch my father had taught me. Carpenter's knots, strong enough to hold. I'm going to lower you down, Glennon. Just relax. I got you. Doss, there's Japs everywhere. You're gonna get killed. Maybe, but you won't. Now hold still. I lowered him down, hand over hand. The rope burned my palms. My arms shook. But I kept going, kept feeding out rope until I felt it go slack. He'd reached the bottom. I pulled the rope back up. 1 down, 74 to go. I ran back across the plateau, found Private Rodriguez, both legs shattered by a mortar. He was crying, praying in Spanish. Rodriguez, I'm getting you out of here. Doss, I thought everyone left. I'm still here. Can you hold on to me? I got him up, dragged him toward the cliff. 100 yards. My lungs burned. My legs trembled. Rodriguez screamed every time I moved him, but we made it. Tied him in the sling, lowered him down. The rope was slick with blood now, harder to grip, but I managed. 2 down. I heard Japanese voices, very close now. They were searching the plateau, methodically clearing bunkers and foxholes. I had minutes before they found me. I found Corporal Stanko, chest wound, barely conscious. Dragged him to the cliff, lowered him. 3 down. Private Mills, arm blown off, in shock. Got him to safety. 4 down. The work became automatic. Find a wounded man, assess his condition, drag, carry, or help him to the cliff edge, tie the rope, lower him down 400 feet, pull up the rope. Repeat. With each man, I prayed the same prayer. Dear God, please let me get just one more. Just one more, Lord. The Japanese were getting closer. I could hear them calling to each other, hear gunshots as they executed our wounded who couldn't move. Every shot made me work faster. Sergeant Ellis, Private Jones, Corporal Yamato, Private Henderson, one after another. My hands were raw, bleeding. The rope had rubbed them down to meat. Every time I gripped it, pain shot through my arms. I wrapped them in torn shirt pieces, kept going. 10 down, 15, 20. I lost track of time. The sun moved across the sky. My legs gave out multiple times. I'd fall, lie there gasping, then force myself up. Just one more. Get one more. A Japanese patrol came close, very close. I was dragging Private Sampson. He'd been shot through both lungs, dying, when I heard voices right behind me. I froze, held my breath. They walked past, didn't see me in the failing light and the smoke. Miracle. Had to be. I got Sampson to the cliff, lowered him. He died on the way down. I found out later. But at least he died going home. 25, 30, 40. The sun was setting. I'd been alone on that plateau for over 10 hours. My body was beyond exhaustion. I was running on faith alone. I found Private Lee hiding in a collapsed bunker, both hands blown off by a grenade. He was crying, begging me not to leave him. I'm not leaving you, Lee. Nobody gets left behind. I'm gonna die up here, Doc. Not today. Not on my watch. I bandaged his stumps as best I could, got him to the cliff. The rope was fraying now, nearly worn through. I reinforced it with another section, tied it off. Lowered Lee down, praying the rope would hold. It held. 45. 50. I could barely stand now. My legs wouldn't support my weight. I crawled to the next wounded man, dragged him by his collar toward the cliff. 30 yards felt like 30 miles. Private Karga, the same man who'd beaten me in basic training. He'd been shot in the spine, paralyzed from the waist down. He looked at me with tears streaming down his face. Doss, I don't deserve, after what I did to you. Doesn't matter now. We're brothers. All of us. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I forgive you, Karga. Now let's get you home. I got him to the cliff. He was heavy, dead weight with his legs useless. Took me 20 minutes to move him 100 feet. But I managed. 55. 60. It was nearly dark now. The Japanese owned the plateau. I could see their campfires, hear them celebrating their victory. I moved through the shadows like a ghost, finding our wounded, pulling them from under bodies, from foxholes, from places they'd crawled to hide. Each time I thought I'd found them all, I'd hear another voice, weak, desperate. Help me. Somebody help me. And I'd go. Every time, just one more. My prayer had become automatic, a mantra. With every step, every breath, every pull of the rope. Dear God, let me get just one more. Please, Lord, just one more. I found Private Baker trapped under a dead Japanese soldier, his leg crushed. Found Corporal Thompson bleeding from a head wound, unconscious. Found Sergeant Willis with his intestines exposed, holding them in with his hands. I saved them all. Carried them, dragged them, lowered them to safety. 70, 75. I searched for more. Crawled across that plateau in the darkness, feeling for wounded men, listening for groans or breathing. Found only dead. Americans and Japanese mixed together in death. War's final democracy. I made my way back to the cliff edge one last time. Looked out at the plateau I'd crossed probably 50 times that day. No more cries for help. No more wounded that I could find. I'd gotten them all. Every man I could reach. 75 souls. I stood at the cliff edge, swaying. My vision was blurry. Couldn't tell if it was from exhaustion or tears. Probably both. I grabbed the cargo net to climb down. My hands couldn't grip anymore. Too damaged. I tried anyway, started climbing. Made it 10 feet and my hands gave out. I fell. Hit the rocks below. Pain exploded through my body. Broke my arm. 3 ribs. But I was alive. Hands grabbed me. American voices. It's Doss! We got Doss! Medic! Get a medic! The irony almost made me laugh. The medic needed a medic. They carried me to the aid station. Captain Smith was there, the battalion surgeon. He looked at me with something like awe. Doss, what the hell did you do up there? My job, sir. Your job? Son, we've been counting. 75 men came down that cliff on ropes. 75 wounded men that we thought we'd lost. All saved by one unarmed medic. That's not a job. That's a miracle. I closed my eyes. The adrenaline was fading. The pain was overwhelming. But I felt peace. Deep, complete peace. Not me, sir. That was God. I just kept asking him for one more. I woke up 3 days later in a hospital ship. My arm was in a cast. My ribs were wrapped. My hands were bandaged like mittens. Everything hurt. But I was alive. A chaplain came to visit, told me what had happened after they evacuated me. Our forces had counterattacked the next day, retaken Hacksaw Ridge. Found the plateau empty. The Japanese had withdrawn during the night. Maybe they thought we'd brought up massive reinforcements. Maybe they'd spent their strength in the counterattack. Nobody knew for sure. But we'd held Hacksaw, and 75 men were alive because of it. The chaplain told me something else. The men in my company had refused to attack without me. Literally refused to climb that cliff until I'd recovered enough to go with them. The assault was delayed 2 days, waiting for me. They said the preacher had to be there, the chaplain explained. Said you were their good luck charm, their guardian angel. They wouldn't go without you. I didn't know what to say to that. Me, the man they'd called a coward. Now they wouldn't fight without me. 3 weeks later, they shipped me back to the States. My war was over. The wounds would heal, but I'd never be fit for combat again. I arrived home in July. Dorothy met me at the train station. She ran to me, threw her arms around me, crying and laughing and kissing me all at once. "I prayed for you every single day," she said. "Every day I asked God to bring you home." "He did," I said simply. "He brought me home." On October 12, 1945, President Truman called me to the White House. There was a ceremony. Reporters, cameras, military brass in their dress uniforms. The president stood before me, holding a light blue ribbon with a 5-pointed star. The Medal of Honor. "Private First Class Desmond Thomas Doss," the president read from the citation, "for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity in action above and beyond the call of duty. On Okinawa, Private First Class Doss repeatedly braved enemy fire to rescue wounded comrades. After his company was forced to retreat from a 400-foot escarpment, Private First Class Doss remained behind, alone, for 12 hours under constant enemy fire. He rescued 75 wounded men, lowering them one by one down the escarpment to safety. His outstanding bravery and unwavering devotion to duty reflect the highest credit upon himself and the United States Army. The president pinned the medal on my chest, shook my hand. "Son, you're a true American hero." I looked at that medal, the highest honor our nation can give, the first conscientious objector to ever receive it. But it wasn't mine. Not really. It belonged to those 75 men, to Ghent and Rodriguez and Carger and Lee and all the others. It belonged to God, who gave me strength when I had none. I was just the instrument, just a man who kept praying for one more. The years passed. I went home to Virginia, worked as a carpenter like my father. Dorothy and I raised a son, lived a quiet life. I didn't talk much about the war. The memories were too painful, too personal. But people wanted to know. Veterans groups invited me to speak. Schools asked me to tell my story. Hollywood made a movie about me years later. I cooperated, hoping it might inspire young people to have faith, to serve without violence, to understand that courage comes in many forms. I stayed in touch with some of the men I saved. They'd write letters, come visit, bring their children and grandchildren to meet the man who saved Daddy's life. Each one would thank me. Each one would tell me I was a hero. And each time I'd say the same thing. I was just doing what God called me to do. The nightmares never completely went away. I'd dream about Hacksaw Ridge, about the men I couldn't save, about the sounds of battle. Dorothy would wake me, hold me, remind me I was home, I was safe. But I also dreamed about the ones I did save, about lowering them down that cliff, about their faces when they realized they were going to live. Those dreams made the nightmares bearable. I lived to be 87 years old, saw the Berlin Wall fall, saw the Cold War end, saw a new century begin, saw America change in ways I never imagined. But some things never changed. The value of human life, the importance of faith, the power of one person who refuses to give up. Young people would ask me, "How did you do it? How did you save all those men?" I'd tell them the truth. I didn't save them. God saved them. I just kept asking him for one more, and he kept giving me the strength to get one more. But weren't you afraid? Terrified, every single moment. But courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is doing what's right despite the fear. Would you do it again? In a heartbeat. Those men were my brothers. You don't abandon your brothers. Ever. I died on March 23, 2006. Pneumonia, complications from the wounds I'd carried for 60 years. Dorothy had passed a few years before. My son was with me at the end. My last thoughts were of Hacksaw Ridge, of that prayer, "Dear God, let me get just one more." He'd let me get 75. And in that moment, I understood. God hadn't just been answering my prayer that day on Okinawa. He'd been answering it my entire life. Every day, every moment, he'd given me one more day to serve, one more chance to help, one more opportunity to show his love through my actions. One more. Always one more. That's the lesson I want you to remember. Not that Desmond Doss was special, but that faith can move mountains. That one person, armed only with conviction and compassion, can change the world. You don't need a weapon to be a warrior. You don't need to take lives to save them. You just need courage, faith, and a willingness to keep going when everything tells you to stop. When your life gets hard, when the obstacles seem insurmountable, when you don't think you can take one more step, remember Hacksaw Ridge. Remember that a small man from Virginia, armed with nothing but faith and a medic bag, saved 75 lives in 12 hours. And remember the prayer, "Please, God, just one more." Whatever your battle is, whatever your struggle, ask God for the strength to handle just one more. One more day, one more challenge, one more act of kindness, one more moment of courage. He'll give it to you, just like he gave it to me. This is the story of Hacksaw Ridge. This is my story. But more importantly, it's a story about what's possible when ordinary people trust in something greater than themselves. Never forget, freedom isn't free. It's paid for in blood and sacrifice and faith. Honor that payment. Live lives worthy of it. Stand up for what's right, even when everyone tells you you're wrong. Serve others, even at cost to yourself. Love your brothers, even your enemies. That's the American way. That's God's way. God bless you. God bless those 75 men I had the honor of saving. And God bless the United States of America. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to this channel. Share these stories. The memories of those who served
must live on.
The truth must be told. The sacrifice must be remembered.